Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Gretel and Hansel. Gretel and Hansel is the latest adaptation of the grim, scary tale about two lost siblings who stumble upon an old lady in the woods who has more malicious intentions than first impressions would lead you to believe. Now, we've certainly gotten our fair share of fairy tales reworked into modern day type of horror movies, though all the craze seemed to be about action horror with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and actually Hansel and Gretel. However, this is much more based on the Grimm's tale and stays true to a more atmospheric horror without adding in the action elements. And to be honest, I was pretty excited to see this film. The trailers had me hooked. I thought they looked solid, a good horror premise, and I was excited to see what Gretel and Hansel brought to the table. And overall, I did actually quite enjoy myself with this film. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, I want to begin with the direction by Oz Perkins and just the wonderful job he did at building this story. The cinematography is really beautiful. The direction itself is creepy and atmospheric. And honestly, the entire film builds wonderful, tense atmosphere from the beginning of the film all the way straight through to the end. And I have to admit, I'm a sucker for a good atmospheric horror film. Plus, this presents the imagery, the more creepy moments and the creepy feels and the creepy ideas rather than jump scare after jump scare. Honestly, there are very few jump scares in this film. It relies heavily on this dark, twisted kind of atmosphere. And I think it was all the better for it. It really worked. Plus, the music, the score, soundtrack in this movie is fantastic. The sound design itself is also fantastic. The ideas behind the production were really cool. And I have to give it up for Alice Krige, who plays like our old lady in the woods. Oh, she's so good. Like, definitely the highlight out of this acting cast. She chews up the scenery in all the best type of ways with this wonderful sinister warmth to her that perfectly just captures the mood of the film. She is so good. Plus, I like most of the changes we make to the Hansel and Gretel old fairy tale. There is a more fantasy element that's at play here. And I'm going to loop back around because I think this is only a half positive. But I do think that it lends itself to at least a fresh take on an old tale. Plus, this movie is only an hour and a half, so they didn't stretch out this really short concept too long. What doesn't work so well when it comes to Gretel and Hansel? Well, I praised Alice for her work. Unfortunately, our child actors just couldn't keep up. Sophie Lillis is known mostly from It and It Chapter 2, and it is such a wooden, just kind of dead performance. I don't really blame her as an actress because we've seen her with such charisma. I think that's the direction she was given, honestly, and it just really created a disconnect with the character. No, it just didn't work for me. And then we had Samuel Leakey, who is adorable, but oh my gosh, this like precarious little kid was too much. His performance just also didn't do it, and neither one of these kids really got the chance to give us like a good horror acting performance. So, yeah. Not to mention the script is not very good, particularly when it comes to actually crafting the dialogue. It just continually falls flat. Everything Hansel says is just like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? In addition, I think the script has a lot of potential but really fumbles when it comes to the larger scope of things. First of all, when it comes to kind of the logic of what we're doing here, of course, we have the original Hansel and Gretel story, which we're basing this off of, but they give more of a background and more of a logic that they don't really follow through on, which was a bit of a bummer. And then we open this big door about feminism, about being female and, female power, honestly, in this movie. But again, the message is really jumbled. It's left at a very awkward place without getting the full development that you would hope for such a big scope to be brought into the movie. Plus, I definitely do think that the fantastical elements are going to be divisive. They only work to an extent for me personally, and while I enjoyed them mostly as a metaphor, I think they're going to be divisive. And honestly, as is this film, I anticipate a lot of audience members are going to walk out not very happy, while others are going to really love this film. I happen to be in the camp that really enjoyed myself and think it was a solidly crafted little horror. So overall, I would say give Gretel and Hansel a matinee. It's just too divisive for me to go ahead and give that full price ticket to, but I think it does a lot of very interesting things with this wonderful sound design and this beautiful cinematography that it's worth checking out, especially if you've been interested or you're a fan of stuff like Grimm's Scary Tales. I think there's something here for you. But it's a little bit slower of a burn, a little bit more atmospheric from your generic horror film. So just be warned going in. So, that is my review of Gretel and Hansel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Gretel and Hansel, or have you already seen it? If you have, let me know your thoughts, either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.